Welcome to Bourbon Tasteoff, playoff brackets of the best whiskeys. Join us in our season-long quest to find our tastiest bourbon. Welcome to Bourbon Tasteoffs. This is episode number 17. I'm Todd, and I'm joined by Andy and Joe, and we are in my backyard, and we're doing another podcast taste-off. Have you guys ever been on a podcast before?
I have not.
Neither have I. First time.
Well, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of give a little history of your experience with bourbon, if any. I mean, if you haven't had any experience, go ahead, feel free to talk about it. This is just us getting together and kind of discussing our history with bourbon.
Well, I've been drinking bourbon for probably about 15 years. None of it's been real serious. Mostly just mixing it and things like that. I have done some drinking of it neat and things but not anything too crazy.
Okay.
I just appreciate where it comes from, how it's made, and the unique flavors that it has, but it's not like a hobby of mine, if you will.
Okay. Do you have a drink that you prefer, like you normally would drink, or do you gravitate to a bourbon, or?
Not really.
You don't have a specific beer or wine or?
I typically mix bourbon, but the kind of bourbon I drink is a mixing bourbon and
Sure.
not a neat drinking bourbon. So.
Okay. That's good to know. And you're Andy, of course.
I'm Andy, yes.
Very good. And Joe is with us as well. Joe, what's your history with bourbon?
Oh, I've been off and on bourbon drinker for years. Don't really have too many favorites. I stick to a certain couple. To name one right off the top of my head, I like the Woodford Reserve Double Oak. That's probably one of my go-tos if I can get that. I just really enjoy that one. I don't know a lot about the intricacies of bourbon. I know basics. So I'm really kind of excited to be here and take part in this one.
That's awesome. I'm really happy that you guys are here. And, you know, we do all have different levels of experience, but this is just us trying to get together and try to find out what in front of us is better than the other ones. So what we need to do is figure out what is going to go against what. So Andy, we'll have you just draw one of those numbers.
2.
Okay, so 1 is going to go against 2. And we've got a bunch of people behind us too, and they did mention that they might want to partake in this. So we're going to let them know. 1 goes against 2.
1 goes against 2.
That's professional, right?
I was going to text him to shut up. It's too
Right.
loud.
Get the
Exactly.
megaphone out.
So we'll put these in the order that we're going to have them. 1 against 2, and then 3 against 4. And now I do need to, explain that this is a bottled and bond tasting today. To be a bottled and bond, it's got to be aged for at least 4 years in a federally bonded warehouse. It's got to come from one distillation season, and then it also has to be from one distiller. So you can't blend from one distiller and have it blend with a different one, and it has to come from the same distilling season. And it's always 100 proof. So one funny thing is that when I talk to people and they're like, "Yeah, we're having some bottle and bond," I'm like, "I know that that's 100 proof," and they're like, "How did you know?" Like, just knowing the requirements to be a bottle and bond is self-explanatory. So it kind of helps to make you look a little intelligent when you're talking about it. So at least, that's always my goal. It doesn't always come through. So let's try and taste one. We don't know what these are other than that they're bottled and bond. And before we start, let's give a little cheers, guys.
Cheers.
I really appreciate you
Salute.
guys joining me for this. So enjoy, everybody. Now, to me, right off the bat, that seems a little hotter than 100 proof.
Yeah, I would say so.
Doesn't that? What sometimes
Little
can
stinger.
Yeah,
Bit.
gives a little Kentucky hug. I like
Yes,
to say.
yes.
I love. Dan would say that is Kentucky hug. Now, I'm trying to think because a rye will sometimes give you that extra spicy kind of heat indicator, even though it's we discussed this is not going to be over 100 proof.
Right.
So the spicy indicator could be a rye, and I'm trying to think if I had a rye in this lineup, and I can't remember actually what I have in here, which is maybe a good thing. We're just kind of going off the taste anyway. So
I thought it had a little bit of sweetness to it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Right at the front end.
The front end.
Yep.
I got some sweetness too.
So typically the front of your tongue is where the sweet taste buds are. They'll pick up the sweet notes in bourbon. So you'll on the front of your tongue, you'll get some of that sweetness if you do pick it up. I must have went right past the front of my tongue because I went right to the back. So I'm going to give it another try. Because I have found that in tasting bourbons, the first taste is not always the most accurate. Like sometimes you just have to go back and taste again. I'm sorry. I think something went down wrong again.
Definitely sweet on the front end for sure.
Yeah.
Very, very tingly and hot
Yeah.
on the back end.
Yeah, and for transparency, we've already been tasting some different bourbons here, just try to get warmed up.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see people in the background. They're like, "Whoa, this is hard. This is hitting me."
Yeah.
I love it. But we're finding some sweetness in it too.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
for sure.
I know in my lineup there is a Bottle and Bond, a 13-year-old, and I don't know if that's this, but it possibly could be. And I'm going to save some of that now for if this does advance and move over to 2. Have you ever had an experience, Joe, with tasting things blind at all?
I have not. This is a first.
Okay. Have you ever had an experience with?
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, mostly though with beer and not with bourbon.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Just kind of getting like a beer flight. I wouldn't call it I wouldn't call it blind, but more of a. I've never had any one of these, and they're all kind of the same. Like say a flight of IPAs, for instance.
Sure.
I've never had any 4 of these IPAs, and so it wouldn't be blind. But it
No,
would be
that's a
kind
great
of
point. I
you know.
never even thought that you're right though. That is considered a blind.
Well, in the sense that you've never had any.
You've
of them
never had
before,
it, right?
And why would you be biased against any one of them if you haven't had any of them? So
Absolutely.
kinda the same idea, at least.
And I love that comment because a couple of times, in the past episodes, Dan, I'm pointing at you. You've been pretty specific as far as I know. Everybody behind the camera is like, "Who, me?" No, I'm talking about Dan from the episodes. He's been pretty specific about what he enjoys, and he wants to be affirmed. He wants to be, he wants to be known that he knows what he's talking about. Or that his opinion is validated, I should say. So, but I agree that I like to go into this being a little more non-biased, and whatever wins. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to be predisposed to picking a favorite just by my biases, I guess. What are we thinking about the second option?
Very different than the first, in my opinion. Not nearly as bitey or spicy, I guess would be the 2 words I'd want to use. That one was a lot smoother to me.
Definitely.
I agree.
Still sweet on the front, a lot less bite on the back.
Yeah.
Smooth.
Very smooth. Yeah, this one I am getting the sweet punch on it. And I shouldn't say punch because punch is typically like, whoa, it hurt. It's like, to me, it's not that, though. This is very approachable. I think you can give this to most people, even if they're not really bourbon drinkers, and they would be like, I like this one more than the first one. So, and I guess, wow, yeah, I guess I already stated what I would pick. So I would pick number 2. How about you?
That's my pick for sure, number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go for number 2 as well.
Okay, and we have other people joining us with this. Can we get like a consensus? It is split over there. I know. We'll get to the ladies behind and gentlemen behind the camera as well. So it's split on the people behind us. And here it was unanimous, where we all picked 2. And how about behind the camera? Can we get a raise of hands? So we got a 1, a 2, 2, 2, and no taste. Or didn't try it. I didn't mean to say you have no taste.
A lot of twos.
Yeah, so 2's take it. Way to go.
Yeah, that's like I didn't like number 1.
Right.
2 very different, but for me, number 2 would be something that I would lean towards on a regular basis.
I'd
Like if I
rather
was gonna
I'd
drink
rather
something.
sip number 2 with a full pour.
Absolutely.
Than number 1. It would be more comfortable to drink.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I get that. I did enjoy them both, and I've stated this in past episodes that I have not come across a Bottle and Bond that I have not enjoyed.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed Bottle and Bond, but there is definitely a difference between 1 and 2.
For sure.
And
Yes.
2 takes it, so that's fantastic. So we will set that aside, 1 will stay in front, and now we'll move over to a 3. Give this a nose. I wish I had brought water out here because I think whatever I tasted last is kind of getting drowned out by...
I gotta say, 3's a lot different than 2 even.
Yes.
I taste a much
Thank
different.
you. Thank you.
3's got no bite, very smooth.
No bite at all.
Yeah, it's.
Is it me
but-
or is
but
there a
2 is
little
smooth.
cinnamon to that?
I taste a little bit of
For
that
some reason,
as well.
I'm feeling like there's a little cinnamon in that thing.
And that's why I needed to get some water because
Interesting.
2 was still fresh on my palate where I'm like, I'm not getting anything off of this that's unique or that's different. It's almost like, to me, it's going from, like, strength is going from 1 to 2 to now to 3, where it's like going down in intensity. But again, they're all 100 proof. So, I mean, the heat is still there.
My immediate reaction was to me, like a
I
little
taste it.
cinnamon on my
I
palate.
taste it too.
Okay, yeah.
Just a little bit of cinnamon
Yeah.
on the palate.
They're sweet on the front end. I think it's even smoother than 2, and I thought 2 was smooth too.
Yeah.
Very smooth.
I'm not picking as much sweet as 2 off of this one. However, right now we're kind of going just 3 and 4, so I'm going to just kind of try to focus on that. I enjoy this one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Joe, you recently got married, like
3 weeks
just
ago
3
today.
weeks ago. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Congrats. It's awesome.
I was fortunate enough to be at the wedding. I really appreciate the invite, and it was a beautiful wedding.
Yep.
It really was.
Short, small crowd.
Yeah.
Everything went off without a hitch.
And then the honeymoon, what was that?
Yep. We last week we were in the Caribbean for a cruise and
Ooh,
had a wonderful time, and it was over too soon, of course.
of course.
Always want a couple extra days, but it was fantastic.
Awesome. So happy for you, man.
Thanks. Yeah.
Beautiful couple.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And Andy, you've been married for how long?
Oh, geez. Get myself in trouble here.
It's okay. I can edit it. You know I won't.
So on September 19th.
You're slipping, Andy.
No, I'm not. You didn't hear the whole answer.
Right?
I'm just a very. Were you trying to help me out?
I think 2 or 3 got you.
She's so
You're
good.
slipping.
She's so good.
I think that was a score.
Yeah. So in September 19th of this year, it will be 9 years
That's a good score then.
completed, which is, a couple years shy of the last marriage, but I think we're going to go a lot further this one.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, you're at that definition of a long-term marriage.
Right.
So
Well, and I know
just
too well
FYI.
about that. I paid for
I
that
do
definition in my past life, but she had a past life too. So
Yeah.
we're 1 and 1,
All right.
and this one's a lot better.
Good. That's
This
fantastic.
This is the dream one. So
Can't drink bourbon without a cigar. I can't do it.
I've been struggling during my podcast. You know, we've been doing some of these, like, and congratulations, by the way. I don't want to
Yes.
get
Oh,
off,
thank
you,
off
thank you.
topic. So we've been doing, this is episode number 17, and we've started like in February. So we're inside during like 20-degree weather, and I'm sitting here drinking these bourbon, and you're right. It's like I want a cigar right now. The thing is, I do want to give this a fair shake, and I'm worried that maybe if cigar taste gets involved with it, well, you're tasting cinnamon. I'm joking, but
Cinnamon it
probably
is.
the best day in the best environment at this time in the day to do a podcast outdoors like this.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
I agree.
Gorgeous
I agree.
weather.
Yeah, you're going to be able to hear all the birds and stuff.
Yeah.
We're not getting bitten up by mosquitoes.
Not yet, yeah.
You know, our state bird.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Pretty much.
so
Do this in July or August, you'll be out here with an AR
oh,
shooting them out of the sky.
exactly. That's awesome. I love hearing the history of your, happiness. Really, it comes down to happiness. And I'm the same way. My anniversary with my wife is coming up next weekend, and I'm looking forward to it. We've been married 6 years, and going to be 6 years. I mean, literally a week away. So I'm not going to say 5 years and 51 weeks,
Yeah, my kid's 37 months old.
right? I know.
Who does that?
It's like, do the math for me, please. That's fantastic. So I'm going to move over to 4. Let's see how
right.
4 compares to number 3. I love hearing the people in the background still talking about this, though. I wish they would feel comfortable to come and join us, though, make a couple comments. But I get it. Sometimes, people are a little shy and they don't want to get involved.
4 is very smooth as well. It's I think much sweeter than 3 was.
I totally agree. I'm getting molasses.
Yes.
Yep. And I love bourbons with molasses. I really do. Wow. But 3 was delicious too. This is gonna be
Yes. It's a tricky one.
wow.
I feel like 4 is just kind of hanging in my throat a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now.
It's almost like almost the texture of a cough syrup going down.
Yeah.
So viscosity is a thing.
Yeah.
Viscosity is a
Definitely.
thing. Between these, in fact, between all of them, 4 is much thicker.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Almost sticky. Yeah, and I mean none of these are finished in anything. Where I've had bourbons finished in like barrels used to age maple syrup or things like that, or honey, where they'll like take some of that viscosity and carry it over to
Yeah.
the bourbon and be just a little thicker. And none of these are that situation. So it's like I said, though, I had one in this lineup that was 13 years old, and so maybe it's getting more wood, and maybe that comes forward as a molasses. It's a guess. I kind of don't. I've done it in the past episodes where I'm like guessing what they are, and it's like it comes off like I look like an idiot. And so I'm trying to not do that as much. But at the same time, what makes them different? They're all bottle and bond.
Yeah.
They're all 100 proof. The only thing that can be different is mash bill or how long they're aged. So, and I guess technically where they're aged, because we can, to be a bourbon, it just has to be made in the U.S., where different temperaments can age a bourbon differently, just depending on where it's been aged, as far as geographically in the U.S. I've had our very first episode was Wisconsin bourbons, because I wanted to pay homage to Wisconsin because we live in Wisconsin, and so we had them, and there were some very good ones, and I think Wisconsin's temperament is harsher than Kentucky, and
sure.
and even though
Absolutely.
they say that the distillate in a barrel kind of goes dormant in cold weather. So that's why they say Kentucky it's more aging time. However, Wisconsin gets very hot and humid as well, where it's really contracting and shrinking that wood to squeeze out that flavor from the wood.
I don't think the climates are too different.
I agree. They're
know,
not that terribly
It
different.
definitely gets colder here in the winter.
Right.
But I think in Kentucky, you're going to get into the 60s in the summer at night sometimes, too, like up here. And probably both hot and humid in the summer. Probably pretty similar in the summer.
I agree. All right. Well, we've got to make a decision between 3 and 4. Do we want to talk about it here or get other people to talk about it first? Or
I see one.
3 3s and a 4 back there. I love it. We need to get like signs, like
Yeah.
like swimming signs, like giving them like the score. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be
Just hold it up like that's their choice. That'd be neat. So then 3 3 3 3 3 3.
I'm gonna go with number 3 as well.
Okay.
Definitely 3 for me.
Wow. Okay.
I just felt like that number 4 just was hanging in my throat a little
It's
too
sweet.
long.
It's too sweet for me.
Okay. I would pick 4. So
Oh, cool.
And obviously from everybody we talked to, Katie and I are the best taste. 3's going to take it. Congratulations to number 3.
So we got number 2 and number 3.
Yeah, so first we're going to bring out the bottles that lost,
Oh.
which
Bottles that
was
lost. Okay.
4 and 1.
Yep. These are the
So
winners.
4 and 1 is going to come out, and we'll be able to talk about them and kind of get a little more insight into what we were tasting and how bad our judgment
Choices
is. All right, so the bottles came back, and they were a George Dickel Bottle and Bond 13-year and a FEW Bottle and Bond, which is a Chicago bourbon, which now I understand why it got voted out. So we'll talk about the.
They got a really good football team. Down
Yeah,
there,
they do.
so
Right.
they got
Like I
good
said, we're all from Wisconsin, so we
In your
understand
own
what the word
minds.
fib means. But we love you viewers as well. So George Dickel, it's a funny name, but it's a bottle and bond aged 13 years, and I suspected that it was the age longer because of just how much more molasses seemed to come out on that. So I heard in the background, sorry for that pause, I heard that Dickel smelled like Everclear starting fluid.
She's had 3 glasses of wine. So
That's true.
You got to take that with a grain of salt.
So that's the first one, and then I did hint at the FEW. I've never really had this before. You can see how full this bottle is, and we just poured it out to 8 people.
Yeah.
So I've never had this before. I just saw that it was a bottle and bond, so I decided to get it. I don't know too much about it, other than that it is a Evanston, Illinois. So it's a Illinois product.
And I don't think any of them were bad. I mean,
I still
could
like that
drink
first
any
one.
of them, but
Yeah.
we're going through the process here and picking the ones we like.
Exactly, and that's a beautiful process.
Yeah.
I love just trying to find out what our tastiest is, and even though it's a pick that I didn't pick, I don't care. Like, it's because of the majority picking it. If I wanted my voice to only matter, I'd do this alone.
This is what I say, and this is how it's going to go.
Right? Yeah, this is a group thing, and I'm fine not having mine in advance. I know I prefer it, so if I were to, have this alone, I would pick that over whatever these become. But right now, we need to find out what's going to win between 2 and 3. So now the match-off has come together in the playoff brackets, and we're going to find out the best of the best. And that's a good idea to reset with some water. All right, so let's go back to 2.
Back to 2.
Boy, going back to that, that's
That's a good one.
that is.
Very smooth.
And now we can feel free to finish them if we want to, because
Oh, I already did. It's gone.
and that's funny. In previous episodes, when we're like, it's a tell because I am done with this one. But again, yeah, going over to 3, I gotta wash. I gotta wash my palate out just because it kind of overpowers 3, in my opinion.
That's weird. Now 3 tastes a lot sweeter to me than 2.
Does it?
I didn't get that the first time. You get that too?
Same.
All right.
I don't think 3's got near the bite 2 has either. I think 3's actually smoother.
I'm gonna go ahead and pick. I picked number 2 myself. I'm a sucker for sweet, and I think that's why I like the 13-year-old George Dickel. I love the molasses. I probably would have picked number 2 over that had that advanced though, because you're right. It stick to your throat and your tongue more than a bourbon I think should. This 2 though, it's sweet, and I kind of have an idea what it might be, and I don't know. I might be wrong. I picked 2 though.
I picked 2
Okay.
for sure.
I like them both, but I'm going to pick number 2.
All right. So far here we're picking 2, 4 to 3 with 2s. Now we're 4 to 4. Oh my gosh!
Really?
Wow, number 3.
No,
Please
it's
don't.
split.
Is it split?
Oh, because you picked 2.
And like I said, they're both, to me, they're both really good. Like I like them both. Like
Yeah.
I could see myself drinking either one of those on a regular basis.
At the event here, we did not take into account that it was not an odd number of people
Yeah.
to be able to choose. So we're kind of stuck in a tiebreaker. Other than the people that were brave enough to come step up and do this and actually be part of the podcast, all agreed that it was number 2. So we're gonna go and move forward with that.
I like it.
So
I like it. That's a good call.
so we're doing number
Great.
2. So congratulations with number 2. we're gonna bring these bottles out and we'll discuss them a little bit
I
more.
like both of them. I like
Right.
both 2 and 3.
Well, obviously it's split both
yeah,
ways.
I mean, I could drink either one of those on a regular.
Yeah, it was a crowd favorite, like half and half, you know. And I think everybody's interested in seeing what these are. And I can't wait to have a cigar. You smoking on that thing. I'm like, when do I get to start my cigar? Pretty damn soon. Oh, they're both winners. They are. You're right. They're both winners.
Very surprising.
So the Wilderness Trail, it's a bottle and bond. Now, Wilderness Trail comes out with a rye bottle and bond and a wheated bottle and bond. This one happens to be a wheated bottle and bond. Now, it's 100 proof, but because it's wheat, a lot of people that like wheated tend to go to it just because it seems to be smoother, so it doesn't have any much bite. And that
Makes
definitely
sense.
shows through. That
Yep.
3 was really mellow. It was really approachable. Just, wheated bourbons are good. And a bottle and bond has a little higher proof, which I always tell people when it's wheated, you get that high heat. However, the wheat just mellows it down. In a previous episode, if you guys have watched it or not, we picked a Larceny barrel proof, and it's 125 proof, but it's wheated, aged 6 to 8 years, and it was so delicious and just approachable, even though it's 125 proof. It put most people on their ass, So, but because it's wheated, it mellows down. So that's a delicious option. I do like their wheated bottle and bond better than their rye myself, and I've had them both. So that was delicious. Now the number 2 that won is a New Riff, just Kentucky straight whiskey bottle and bond. It's a sour mash. We talked in a previous episode what a sour mash is. Now I'll go back to the Wilderness Trail. It says sweet mash on the side. So a sweet mash means that they start fresh their mash bill 100%. They use all brand new corn and wheat and barley to create their bourbon. What a sour mash does is they use part of how they started it, and they'll keep that fermentation going for the next batches, almost like a sourdough. They'll be able to kind of reuse that yeast strain and keep it going. So that's what a sour mash is. And this New Riff Bottle and Bond, I've always been a fan of it, and I love to see that it goes forward, although I wouldn't have been upset with either one of these moving forward. What do you guys think? Have you guys had either of these?
I have not had either one.
Me neither.
Are you planning on going out and buying either one of these?
As long
that
as
time of the year to have a good bottle of bourbon at home.
Absolutely.
For real.
As long as you can get each bottle for like $15, I'm definitely in.
Well,
It's no problem, right?
You can start a GoFundMe.
I might have to.
MasterCard, Visa.
That's right. Oh, that's how America gets in trouble. And every other country. Well, you guys, I really appreciate you guys coming out and joining me and doing this. It takes a little bit of guts and bravery to just step up and try to do this, even though, the following is like 33 people.
I thought you said 33 million. You said 33?
Yeah, well, I tend to overestimate.
Oh.
It's not Todd Rogan. It's Todd Ellsworth.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I really do appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for
Thank
the
you so
invite.
much.
We've enjoyed it.
Excellent. So please make sure you like and subscribe, and join us next week. Thank you.